And do you know what? We're going to start it here. And so how hilarious that is. The first 30 minutes.
Wow, I can't believe that.
And it's really juicy
did
stuff
not
there.
this.
We'll have to try and backtrack it.
With the first one, I will allow you. Wow, you start. That is
Do you know what?
shocking.
I was like, wait a minute. Why is the timer not on?
It's because it's like the first half an hour supposed to be just like warming up, wasn't it? So
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So, Co, thanks so much for joining me. For the listener, we've just been having a half an hour podcast, just the two of us.
It's amazing. Like, that long as it runs, so I'm sorry, you missed the coupon, you missed the first half hour.
Yeah.
Once one, see consulting to Alastair, basically.
It's a fear of loss tactic. Classic sales technique.
Oh my gosh. I mean, on that, it's so funny actually. Someone was, I was buying some like education and learning the other day for my public speaking skills I'm trying to build on. And they said to me, "Oh, I'm finishing at 12 today. So if you make the payment before 12, that'd be great." And I'm like, if you finish at 12, that's great. I don't. So
Yeah.
when I pay, I'm busy. It's like 5:30. Hey, Cohan, when I said I was finishing at 12, I'm now finishing at 5:30. So if you, and I was like, look, you're speaking to someone that's been doing sales longer than you are alive. I'm not being condescending. Don't ruin the relationship. I'm going to pay today. I'm really busy. It'll be paid later. And she was like, okay, I'm really sorry. I was trying to close you. I'm like, no, I've agreed.
No, ain't closing. That's making me run away.
You already won. We're having a good relationship. Don't spoil that with these tactics because it's bullshit. So, and I'm noticing it a lot. Like my other half, who runs to find it agency, if she sniffs out that kind of closing pattern, she'll never speak to you again. So it's a real kind of, I guess, a desperation of what's going on in the market, and people struggling, so they just get desperate. So yeah,
do you know what? I think
listening to this, don't sell that way, please.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's funny, isn't it? Because I think one of the things that I noticed, the difference between doing B2C sales, so like the door-to-door that we just spoke about half an hour, that no one will ever know about. Like the door-to-door is, you can do quick closes. It's almost kind of expected to do a quick close, an assumptive close. But then going through the career, then becoming a consultative salesperson, actually, it's like all those skills are totally now, you don't use them anymore because it's a completely different ballgame. It's interesting because me and my girlfriend, we bought a sofa from DFS.
Yeah.
We went, so here in Hove, we've got like there's like a retail park and you've got DFS and you've got Sofology and you've got Oak Furniture Land, all the rest of it. And then there's another one I can't remember the name of. And in each one, you got these really aggressive salespeople. Oh, is there anything to do with it? Have you thought about this one? And they're kind of there, and you can feel the desperation. DFS, go in. They go, do you need a hand? No, they're just looking around. No worries. They walk away immediately. And I'm like, that is the best sales approach I've ever come across. I was so impressed.
Yeah, they now have a leader, right? So, they have that ability to be less pushy because they're number one.
They're number one. The guy, I quizzed the guy. I quizzed the sales manager, was the one we eventually went to, and I said, I'm a sales guy. I said, I'm really impressed with your sales technique. He goes, the company themselves no longer KPI us on revenue. It's only customer success.
Wow.
And I was like, yes, I've no doubt. I haven't checked their revenue, but I have no doubt that has had a positive impact.
Absolutely. And I mean, we could talk about the milestones of success and the KPIs we've had as salespeople. Some of them are absolutely ridiculous. But I still talk to founders and CEOs now that have sales teams or revenue generating teams, whatever you want to call it, and they have no idea what they're doing in regards to the KPIs. Well, they still, I had a company that I was pitching my services to, and they had this poor chap making 1,000 calls a day.
Jeez, that's exhausting. That is hard.
And getting through to 10% of that, and then out of 10%, trying to get some meetings booked. And I'm like, you're paying this guy like 30 or 40K, whatever it was, to do nothing. and just demoralize themselves. Like,
Yeah.
these guys, it takes 22 touches on average over a month, over multiple different domains. So call, email, LinkedIn, socials to get hold of one person. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah.
You just got to call him.
What are you doing? It's like 1980.
Yeah.
Good sales have you from? Well, actually, a tech founder, or I just have an interesting idea and now I've created a company. It doesn't mean that you actually know how to run the company
Oh,
or know
yeah,
anything about
absolutely.
sales. And that's not me being disrespectful. I love their ideas and it's great they've created a company, but get people in place that know what they're doing in regards to marketing, operations, PR, sales, in all functions. That's like me saying, "Oh, I like coding, so I'm just going to start doing code."
Yeah.
No, you're going to get a data scientist and get a coder to do it. Just because I'm passionate about it doesn't mean that I can do it. For some reason, all these founders like think that they can manage salespeople or even hire. Like, how have you hired your salesperson? What criteria did you have that he's a good salesperson, or his CV's not bullshit, or his revenue milestones aren't exaggerated? When you hire someone, they're in a job for 6 months and left, but they hit their number.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, they were the top guys.
What do you say? You lumped up for 5 months, 6 months, and the last week you hit your number? Oh, yeah, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a salesperson, I know. So that's why you'd get me to hire your team and then pay me a retainer and I'll do it for you. They're like, oh, we can't afford that. Okay, we'll
Like,
keep
you can't afford
hiring
not to, mate. That's the thing.
salespeople then. You know?
Yeah. And it's one of the most expensive things to fail at. Is recruiting the wrong salesperson. It's one of the most expensive salaries that you're going to get.
Yep.
The training takes ages. Most people have no idea how to train.
You
I've joined companies before.
Is that a joke?
No. Have you read the website? That's your training. Jump on the phone.
Yeah, like, and if you get a phone, like, answer on a pen and a pigeon, go and close £1 million.
Yeah.
And if you don't in a year, then you're fired. And we'll have someone else do the same thing. We want to train them or onboard them. You expect the same and expect different results. Isn't that the first sign of insanity, right?
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. I've seen some really good onboarding a couple of times in my career. I've been around for 30 years, right? Only twice. So every other job I've had, no onboarding at any level. So I thought when you're an executive or you're a country manager or you're a VP, the onboarding's going to be incredible, right? No.
No, nothing changes.
No. Then with a CEO, it's like you're onboarded, basically. But you know, like the little things of how to get stuff done or operationally.
Yeah.
What that email? What happens when I raise an invoice? What happens when I need expenses paid or I need to pay for something? And it takes weeks to get it done. If I was onboarded, I would know this stuff.
Yeah.
So your efficiency immediately goes down and you're doing operational stuff rather than evangelizing what they do or creating partnerships or building enterprise account relationships because you're faffing about doing admin. You just don't know what you're doing. You don't know how the company works. So the onboarding and how a company works is so important. Like us, imagine if this is your first podcast. So you're going to make errors, you're going to make mistakes. But after your 15th one that you've got done booked, you're going to be slick, you're going to be smooth. If I then come to you and say, Alastair, I want to create a podcast, you're going to go, look, before you start, let me just give you some basic operational guidance, right? So then you don't do mistakes.
Click record.
Right, we're laughing. It's a big thing.
So easy to not do.
Half an hour of like academy nominated information it's lost in the ethernet forever. There's a lot of things you need support and help with in any role. But for some reason that's not happening. And I don't know why.
I think it's people just don't know how to do it. Like one of the things that I've done when I've been in very short periods of time when I have been employed is I've created a sales intranet. And I've done it primarily for myself because when arriving, it was always exactly as you say, a total mess. Like it takes a week to get your email set up.
Yeah,
you're lucky to get a laptop in the first month, type of thing, right? So it's just kind of all over the place. And so because I'm relatively dyslexic, and so for me I need to have things like almost OCD organized to even digest the information. So I create this little like intranet. I do it on Google Sites, right, and just be like, right. So this is my script for when I'm doing a discovery. This is my presentation. This is my email follow-up. This is the guidelines. This is the presentation. And then as I start to build it, I realize nobody's got any of this information.
No.
So I'm then having to try and either figure it out myself or create a presentation, or there isn't a presentation in the first place. Like, it's so common. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges for salespeople joining companies.
It's when you do that, you create your deck, and then marketing saying that isn't in our tone of voice.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not our tone of voice.
Well, because I created it myself, because you didn't. And like sales and marketing are different teams. They're the same team doing different things. One at the bottom of the funnel, the other's at the top. But then we're in collaboration. We work together. It's like, let's create a deck together then. Have some assets in there, some case study examples. Oh, you can't talk about that case study. How would I know that unless you tell me? Like, I'm not Houdini. I'm a sales guy. Like, give me these facts and data points when I need them. Then I wouldn't need to just make it up and talk bullshit, because there was some people like, they chat rubbish, get an SC on the call and they keep them honest. They're like, what are you? SC will say, this is our roadmap, not our technological roadmap. And then customers, well, what's available? Well, none of that. That's what I'm showing you. Sales spots go, what's available now? Well, the Excel shit, I'm showing you the AI and all of the virtual reality stuff. I don't know.
Look at a spreadsheet.
I'm like, it sounds like trying to sell any of that shit. I didn't even know it existed. I thought I sold a spreadsheet, but no one was dishonest.
Yeah.
Basically, the stigma.
Can I have a case study? Yeah, got loads of case studies.
Yeah.
Can I have one? Oh, well, no.
Yes. We never the NDA, so I can't really talk about that. Right now. It's cool. I'll send you something. I do research data.
Oh, it's so funny. And I think that is I think it's quite sad in a way, because I think that's the general experience that basically every salesperson, that's the, but now I'm experiencing kind of sales automation. I also, I then go one further. I'm like, so now when I talk to a company, I'm like, wait a minute, someone's having to manually prospect this. Someone's having to manually do that. Someone's having to manually do this. I'm like, the efficiency of this human being is like, look, if you're paying, especially when you go to enterprise sales, it's high salary, 60, 80, 100, 120.
Yeah.
They're still having to do all this manual. I'm like, what is the cost of this prospect? Like, his hourly rate's like, what, 100 quid an hour?
Yeah. The cost of sale is ridiculous, right? I think back in the day, so in 2008, before the crash, in the sales team, and I realized that half our day were looking at, I'm going to say faxes. So for anyone on
most people say, we'll go, what the fuck is a fax?
Under like 25 who won't know what I'm talking about. The clients like BT would fax you their order, or HP or whatever, fax it, and then whoever's got it was the person that sold it, right? Or it comes through your name on, etc. Actually, I don't know, why am I giving you this? What are we talking about? Efficiency.
Yeah.
Now, you did that to take that fax, you have to input the data manually. If it's a new account, set up the account, and then go to accounts payable, then credit check. It'll take a good hour. Then you've got to input the data, check the stock, see if it's available. Then eventually you're going to call them back and say, yes, did you have it, or no, they can't. Right? This is from a fax coming. So say they faxed at 8:30, probably lunchtime, you're in a position to say whether they can have it or not. Then you've got to get hold of that person. So you might have done one deal at 3 p.m. And it's like, why can't we have an admin person that gets all the faxes together, uploads them onto the system, and allocates it by sector or account name, if it's a named account, or by the vertical that the person sits in? Oh my God. We never thought of this, really. Did that work? I'm like, wow. Like, every job I've had since, I've put that in place, because it's ridiculous. Like you said, I'm paying one of my AEs between 80 and 150K to just do admin.
Just
write email follow-ups, create decks. No, that's what marketers do. Give me your idea, let them do it.
It's funny because I think one of the other downsides of having to do all the sales, and this is only from my own experience of it, is if I've got to do all that shit afterwards, right?
Yeah.
I'm now, part of me is going, oh, don't actually want to sell something. You know, so there's a subconscious activity going on, which is
Yeah,
going, when I have to sell something, I now have to do all this shit that I hate doing.
it's more around the stuff you don't want to do anyway. So, i.e., notes in CRM. Right?
Yeah.
That is just the biggest challenge I've had getting salespeople to do, is to put their notes in. And thank God now for AI that can transcribe
Record, copy, paste.
conversation, record it, send it to people. Thank the Lord, the IT God for that, because that's going to change stuff.
That is
Now
that is
you can
life changing in the sales industry for
understand your
sure.
data sets, understand where you're winning or losing. Is it geography based? Is it based on a specific product? What's the the lead source? Is it based on all these data points that you need to make strategic decisions on
Yeah,
where to go or who to hire, where to buy. Now you've got the data to do that. But before, if you start somewhere and you go, right, what's been sold? We're not sure. What's the what's the USP? Well, there's all different ones. How do we win against our competitors? Well, we're not sure. All of the things I need to know to sell.
yeah.
It's can't be,
Yeah.
really, really important, right? So then now, at least with AI, you can get that stuff done.
Yes, and automatically without having to do, and It's you remind me of this. I got recruited as a sales admin at one point in my life.
Right.
Very short term contract, but I remember basically what I did was everything was being done manually. I mean, it was paper. So it was a door to door company that was selling the free loft insulation. Do you remember this thing? Yeah. And everything was writing on a thing and all the rest of it. I was like, this is ludicrous. I was like, we're just going to put a bit of software in, and we're going to just automate this, and the customer's going to sign on a tablet, and you're done. So this and it was, I mean, it was literally ridiculous. It was like 17 pieces of paper per house.
Wow.
And it was just mental. And then it was just like one signature, all of it done in straight away. And basically I put myself out of position because I was like, wasn't needed anymore. But it was just, it was just baffling to me that wasn't something that was already considered.
No. No, it's old school, isn't it? I mean, a lot of industries are old school, so that means that often their teams and their tech is old school.
Yeah.
Just because of the industry they're in. It's changing, but it's slow. It's going to be slow to change. I mean, even a lot of these AI organizations or huge companies in tech still don't use, or what I call, drink your own Kool-Aid, which is an old term that I see is they don't use their own tech, so they don't actually know the best way it works or best practice, which I find just mad.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I've had that once, which was I was selling software for this company. It was run by doctors, right?
Yeah.
All doctors. And they were all clearly super intelligent people, right? You have to have quite a big brain in general to be a doctor, right? I think we could all say they had no idea what they were doing as business people. Absolutely no idea at all. They had been very clever to create this thing that was really needed in the industry. They're very, very good to do that. But they had absolutely no idea what they were doing. And their timeline to sale was on average 8 weeks, right? So once someone says, yes, I want to do it, it was 8 weeks to actually get them to sign a contract. And I was like, that's a really long time. I was like, even if you're selling to other doctors, that's a long, long time. Anyway, so I realized it's because they were sending a paper contract in the post. And I was like, you are joking. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sign us up to DocuSign, like straight away. I was like, I'll even put my card detail. I'll pay for this. I was like, if I can use it as a sales guy and speed up my time, I was like, and then it went from 8 weeks to a week on average. I remember the first time I used it, he signed the same day. And I remember saying to the sales manager, I said, yeah, I just got a sale in. I go, all right, yeah, we sent the contract. I said, yeah, he signed it. He said, oh, and then everybody started using it, but I just couldn't believe it. But again, it's this kind of old fashioned way of doing stuff.
Well, yeah, we talk about industries, right? Lawyers still do, a lot of that stuff. They still do stuff by hand. It's still written. It's mad.
I don't know law enough. I wonder how much of that is because it's legally needed or whether or not that is just literally old fashioned shit.
No, I mean, they talk about, I think that's just how they operate, right? But they still use faxes and stuff. But I think it's about the security. But you think about encryption now and having your own cloud network, you can have your own own virtual environment that's more secure than anything else on-prem. Have your own
Yeah.
cloud. They just don't understand the technology to make that
How to
jump.
do what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Co, I would love to ask you, I would like to know like some real life stories. So like,
Go on.
what was one of the biggest kind of challenging things that you got faced with where you're like, God, I have to fix that. That could be either as an employee or as what you do now as a consultant that's self-employed. You know, what's
Oh,
one of the biggest shit shows?
it's all been pretty bad. I don't know. It's all been pretty bad, but all great learning lessons, right? I think there's no way to fail. You just learn and you pivot, you adjust. But there's been some bonkers stuff I've seen. Top of my head, I don't know. I think trying to think of a scenario to fix stuff. I don't know. I mean, one organization, I went there and they asked me to kind of, it's all happened off my career, going, ramp up the team, get results, like, change everything, change behaviors, no one's engaged. And rather than me think, well, why isn't no one engaged and why are you at this position? I was arrogant, just like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm going to go in and do it, right? Without having all these key questions and, how they got to this point already and why are they feeling like this? And I went in and I think they were selling like 90 different products. So if you can imagine trying to understand 90 different things,
Wow.
whether it's through different partners, even just the USP for each individual one, it's impossible, right? You're trying to just throw stuff at the wall to it sticks, which isn't how you sell.
Yeah.
So that was really tough in kind of the H1, trying to create events and work with marketing, because I believe you have to co-sell with marketing and everything you do. So create an event with a specific message, with a target audience in a certain place, and then it all comes together with assets and with pages and then pictures. Doing that for 90 and every
90
party
products.
and every vendor speaks is like, yeah, but you're speaking to those 89 other people, so why did you care about us? So I said, okay, let's just look at 2 for H2, have events that align with that in Q3 and Q4, and then the Q1 that's following, everyone like double achieved their numbers.
Wow.
It's because no magic sauce or some great. It was just actually, let's concentrate on 2 partners. Let's really get in bed with them. Let's say we're going to support them. Let's understand the product sets really, really well, so we know the challenges the customers face, really understand it, and that will just increase their learning, made they knew what they were talking about, and then it really changed the game in regards to that, the company and the brand.
I absolutely love this challenge because I think that highlights so specifically why it's important to niche down, right?
Yeah.
Because when you try and sell 90 products, you just know 90 nothings, right? So
No,
just getting
spreading
really
yourself
good at
way
one.
too thin.
Yeah, it's way too thin. And people buy confidence. And it's not just, I don't mean that in the sense of people buy your confidence, but it's your confidence that you know what you're talking about. So if you're only kind of half know little fragmented bits of this and that, it's totally an unconvincing story.
And also imagine the back end of how to process that paperwork. Each partner has its own T's and C's, its own operational differences, its own SLAs. Like, I can go on. It's actually impossible to sell like that.
Now, I wonder, and this is a question I have no idea about, but I wonder what it must be like for, and I've done this a little bit, but I only had 2 clients at a time. Again, at one point, I was just doing telesales, working from home. His daughter was just born, just needs to make some money. And I had 2 clients I was doing appointment setting for, right? So it was relatively easy. I could really digest and learn 2 things and put one hat on, half a day, and then the other hat for the other half day. Now, for these companies that run telesales companies, where you've got these guys that are doing an hour here, that you're changing campaigns all the time.
Yeah.
I wonder how that fits with that. Can you be so trained to know so well? Do you think so?
Yeah.
Good.
If you're good. So when I was at uni, I worked for a telemarketing company, and I was a lead for a telemarketing company that did exactly that.
Okay.
But each lead would only onboard a certain amount of clients at once. So you'd have a lead telemarketer that runs the campaign, manages the client, and they know the client inside and out. They have people that work in that team. Now, you would never, probably in a day, you might work for 2, but never know more or less, or all day you'd work for them. But you're trained and on board is so well that if I said, right, now you're doing A, they could flip, now do B, flip. Or if you're working on C and you just jump on D for whatever reason, you can do
Mm.
it because you know the USP. Again, you've got documentation, you know the script you're working to, or you've learned it, you know the database. So actually, when someone is trained well and they have the business acumen to be able to change, you can do it. Some people can't. So some people only ever work on one campaign and do it really, really well.
Mm.
You know from their personality traits if they can flip or not.
Mm.
So that's when like uh, Myers-Briggs or any of these personality tests come into play that we used to use to identify if someone can work on their own audit team or whether they can get confused by going through different types of data. And we used to use these tests to put people on certain teams, and it worked brilliantly.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. And funny enough, I think what you just pointed out is another thing, which is what these sales companies are able to do perfectly is what every other company that does it independently seems to fail to do, which is the onboarding process, right? So they
right.
nailed the onboarding.
So, well, in those roles, imagine if you didn't have onboarding, it would actually be impossible, right?
It would be impossible. It would be an unprofitable business.
Yeah, because all your clients will just leave and be like, "You're rubbish. You don't book any meetings fast, or you don't generate any revenue." They have to on board. So their onboarding is amazing.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
And if you're really senior and you're closing big stuff, the client will come in. So say if it was you had a business where you're selling your podcast, right? Alastair would come in and say, right, this is why I started it. We'd ask, what's your passion? Why did you start? And back then, we didn't realize what we were doing is identifying their tone of voice, their
Okay,
passion.
nice.
Why? So when you're on the phone, you can convey why a company exists and why the
Yeah,
founders did it. People were listening to you, your storytelling. I didn't
yeah,
realize back then, but yeah, it was what we call now the tone of voice of the organization. So you'd come in,
interesting.
you'd sit with the team, and actually, if I go back to 2000, so 25 years ago, when
Showing your age, mate. Just saying.
it's things to go nuts, mate. They're terrible. When get you back to my distribution days, the vendor would come in, right, and they would say, here's free donuts. They'd get like someone dressed as James Bond or whoever. Like they used to call them Spiff days. But on a Spiff day, the product managers would sit down with you and be like, right, let's say it's a server. It's a 6-port, it's Ethernet, Cat 6, Cat 7. They'd give you all these like real product-led detailed information on why to sell their server. It's a Dell server, not a HP server, or not a Cisco server. They'd give you the USP to why theirs is different or better or more expensive in the morning, 2 hours. You spend all day selling their products. They'd give you for a chocolate bar if you've got a meeting, or they'd give you 100 quid if you sold something, or a holiday who sold thousands. And it was fun. It was interactive and you're learning constantly. So if you had, 3 Spiff days that month, it didn't dilute your ability to flip. It made you more knowledgeable. It
Mm.
made you to a customer, look, what servers are you using today? Is it cool? Is it wireframe? Why is it coolant? And like you can have real conversations. This is salespeople selling to technical people, which apparently now we can't do. So it's quite interesting. We went from that to now I need 5 other people in the room that are technical because I apparently am not technical enough to have these conversations. And I'm known as like a technical salesperson, but that's because I was taught that way. When you know the product in and out, you use it, and then you can then sell it, right? But it's like now the salesperson's like sat there smiling, and if other people are talking,
And brings in the CTO, and CTO sells basically, and the sales guy's got to use the closing line, and
it's a bit weird how that's happened, right? You
that
have
is
to have
weird.
an
There's
SE with you now.
a couple of things that I want to draw from what you just said. And one of these things is something that I've noticed as a challenge for myself, which is when you're this office environment you're talking about, where you got the chocolate bar on the board, right? And
Yeah,
or like old school sale, you put 50 quid magnet, whack it on the thing, go right, next sale, that's yours type of thing, right?
yeah,
So kind of really old school techniques. With everyone going remote,
yeah,
I've often contemplated how can you keep the same level of momentum with a
No,
remote team?
I don't know. I think, look, I've always from a young age been external. So I've always had a day or two in the office, a day at home, a day with clients or on site with my clients. I've never been in the office every day, very rarely, because I wanted to just get into external sales as soon as possible. Always have the car, always have the allowance, and I'm just better with people face to face.
Yeah, yeah, I get
So
that.
I've never really, I've never worked inside. So when COVID happened, to me, it didn't make a lot of difference to me.
Mm,
It affected me because I couldn't see my friends or family, not because of work. I was always not really in the office anyway. But for, especially for SDR and BDR teams who are typically internal, when you hear someone have success and you hear their tone, they win. It makes you want to win. It's
it's
contagious.
contagious. It's
On
contagious.
your
Yeah.
own and having that locked off, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. What we were saying before we were recording the podcast, it's when you get to a certain level and you're just doing the admin or you're just doing certain stuff, or if you're in senior management, you don't want to be like, you just get disturbed in the office. Everything takes longer. So it's better to be at home and get stuff done.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But in those roles, you want to be in it. You want to have colleagues. You want to be at that. And so, like we, for example, back in the day, we go right, say T-Rex on the next
The next
call,
call. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
make up a word from dictionary, and this is fun, and you got to put it in. When you're
Yeah,
cold
yeah, yeah.
calling and you're just, make hundreds of calls, you need some way to keep alive and to make it fun or
Keep your
gamify it
enthusiasm high.
in some
Yeah.
way. So working from home, those industries will just die.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I
Doesn't
agree with you.
work.
I think it's just too it's too complicated to try and create that type of atmosphere. And I remember I tried a bit with trying to do like a bit of Slack, it just wasn't the same. It didn't work. That was my
No,
experience of it. So I wonder if anyone ever manages it, but I just can't
nah,
imagine it.
right.
You need it there. I used to love at the end of my first sales job. I love it. At the end of the day, we'd have this huge gong, and however many sales you did, you'd hit it for that
Yeah,
many times, and it was just great. There was 50 people in the room, everyone's clapping their hands, and it
yeah,
was, it's unbeatable, that type of atmosphere. It's just great.
yeah.
The
The
other thing
good
that I
old
wanted to
days.
the good old days, yeah, they were the good old. Imagine that during COVID. The other thing I wanted to draw on what you said was what you called the spiff days, where people would come in and start
Yeah,
teaching and educating, and I think that's one thing that really makes a huge difference in sales is education and being able to educate the client. So, like for example, I've become so expectant of it. If I see a really expensive brand of, let's say, clothing or something like that, I'm like, well, okay. If I Apart from the brand, I want to know, what am I getting? Like, is the stitching better? Is the quality of the cotton better? Like, I want
yeah.
to be
Why?
educated on what is it that makes it. And there's this mechanic I go to here in Brighton. The reason I go to him is the level of detail that he teaches me what is wrong with my car in such great. He's like, can you hear that little ticking? Let me show you what that is. And what that means is X, Y, and so much
Yeah, you
education. I
informed.
know he's not bullshitting me. I know it's
Yeah,
true, right?
yeah,
I'm completely convinced of it. And he's
yeah.
doubled in size since I've known him. In terms of, he's got another location. I have no surprise,
Wow.
because everybody is trained to teach the client what is going on with the car, so they know it's not some con. And I
Yeah.
think that makes it. So I think that's a great, great thing for
Well, it's
people to
gone.
learn, is to
It's gone, right?
educate the sales guys.
I think in the kind of OEM world, that still happens to a point because tech changes so quickly now. It's not every year, every quarter there's a new product out or it's changed or been updated or upgraded, especially with software. Um, but now basically there's now roles to do that, right? So back in the day there was salespeople. That's it. Now in a sales team, you could have a bid writer, you can have a sales engineer, you can have a sector lead that knows about the vertical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You then have an expert from the vertical that they've hired into sales team. So let's say we're selling BMW, we've hired the ex-VP at BMW to be in our software company because he knows BMW more than all we do. So in the public sector, you see that a lot. There's doctors now, and they're like VP of thought leadership. I'm like, wow, okay, great. So then you have a doctor. Don't get me wrong, when you're writing an email and they say, well, no, we speak like this and you use this language and we wouldn't buy that. And, no, don't get me wrong, they've all got roles. But, there's now probably 10 people in the team. So, for example, I won't say the company name, but at a large SaaS company, I'd go to clients on site to do a pitch. and there'd be probably 7 of us, different titles, different roles, all for this one client. And
Wow.
I used to hate turning up like man heavy, I used to call it, whether it's females or men in the team, man heavy, and the client's got like one person there in the boardroom, which doesn't look great.
So
So
intimidating.
I'd try and
14 eyes on you.
yes, yeah, like I would try and manage how many people in your team, so I know I'll explore, and then I said, look, you can't come stage, give it to me on email. You can't come, just write it down. You can't come. Sorry guys, you have to stay in the office today. But you end up turning up on site. It's like a football team. And there's like one goalkeeper, like, okay, it's really weird. I'll buy.
That is so interesting. I've not been, the most I've ever been in as a team was 3. That's my maximum I've ever experienced myself personally. So it's really fascinating to hear that, that type of thing happens, to have like a whole board of people.
Yeah, back in the day, I was trying to sell to Red Bull Racing. It's interesting now they've got AI and they're using with Salesforce and they're using with HP, AWS. They're all in there, right? And I was trying to do that back in the day. I kind of said that's my deal. Yeah. And then kind of closed it without me. I planted the seed. I was one of the early ones. But basically, we were going in there and say, who's your biggest fan? Who are your loyal fans? How often do they go to a race? What races do they go to? How much do they spend? All this kind of rich data. They're like, we don't know. I'm like, wow, we need to look at that. And which is what they're doing now, right? But back then, I remember doing the pitch and going to Red Bull Racing. I remember there was the SE, there was the coach team, me, two managers, marketing. Yes, there's 9 of us. There's 12 of them. But getting a decision is really difficult because imagine you're in the room, you're engaging, you're looking at who's who, you're leading them, and it's like, well, yeah, that's not me, that's them, and they answer that, and they answer that, and that's not me, that's them. And it's like, God, this is circus.
I would call that what happens in enterprises. It starts to become a diseconomy of scale. There's so many stakeholders that are part of this process, so difficult, and the timelines are so long.
Someone gets sick or God forbid, gets one of them by a bus.
Or they get replaced.
Oh, God.
Because jobs come, go, the quickest way to increase your salary is you fuck off to another company, right? That's the fastest way to get a salary increase. So people tend to leave their roles after, and a timeline for enterprise sales is what, 18 months typically? It's like at least 18 months.
At least it might take that long to be onboarded as a supplier.
So if you've got 12 people who on average change their role every 3 to 4 years, probably 6 of them are new people.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the public sector, I was really successful. But what I should do is I'd say because most of them are contractors, they're not FTEs. But I'd say, look, Alastair, when are you leaving? They're like, no, they know, November. Who's replacing you? Oh, I think Tim is. It used to just means Tim. Just kind of the month before you go, yeah, sure. So I would have these month intros to the people that were coming in these teams before they left. So I never had any issues with being the new guy because it's like, actually,
You've already got the relationship.
Who's who? I would help them in regards to their role, where to go. I was like, who not?
You're their best mate.
They love me, yeah.
Yeah, you're their best mate.
They come to me like, how do I get the paperwork done? Who signs this off? Oh, I'll tell you. And I actually learn, for any salespeople that are kind of listening to this, I learned about how they internally process paperwork, which meant I could sell quicker and they could do their job better. So my value wasn't what I was selling or the price. It was I knew their jobs and I knew how to help them do their job better. And that's where I won. Nothing to do with what I was selling.
I'm gonna just have a moment of silence there because I want anyone who is listening to that. That is such fucking solid advice. That is such a good thing to learn from someone who really knows what they're talking about. How to do enterprise sales at the very, very best. That is such a good idea.
It's to the point where I actually wrote the RFP for them, which I think is still often in your career. Biggest deal I've ever closed. Wrote the RFP for them. They just gave it to me and said, yeah, write it. Did it so well, I actually could answer one of my questions. So I was like, yes. And I had a team of like 20 people internally to help me. No one else could answer these questions. And then when it comes to the contract in enterprise, often you get like 3+2 or 3+2 the breakout clause. They're like, I'm like, I need that revenue to show. I need recognition of it. They're like, okay, give it to you in this lump, but after a certain period of time, we're going to cut it off. It's really complicated. And this Italian guy, who I love him, I won't say his name in the procurement team. I won't do the accent, but he is like, basically going like, I love you. And he phoned me like on a beach. And I'm like, wow, you're on a beach? He's like, yeah, I'm on holiday because you're there. I'm like, the team, because I know you got the paper, I know you got the contract, it's perfect. Just send it to me and I'll sign it now. This is like a multi-million, 7-figure, 5-year deal, like record-breaking deal. And he's like, yeah, coffee, cigar, yes, I love you. And I'm just like, when it's signed, I'm like, yeah, it's good. I was like, almost whatever, like the biggest deal of my life. It was hilarious. But that was just because he trusted me and I really wasn't giving him any bullshit. I didn't lie about timelines or about the product or what would go live or what was available. Super honest and transparent. And every time they changed, I knew who they were. I knew their internal policies more than they did. And that was the value. It wasn't the product. It wasn't how I dressed.
You're indispensable. You were indispensable. You needed to be there.
Yeah.
And I also like what you said around it's you can't sit in this camera angle, but my poster, I think I pointed to you before, it says authenticity knows no competition.
Yeah.
Just being super honest, super transparent, telling the client when something is not right for them. Actually, it isn't the right thing for you to be buying. And actually this cheaper thing is one of actually the best sales tactics because it builds such a level of trust.
Yeah, exactly that.
And once you've got trust with whoever it is you're selling to, the job is already completed.
It really is. People can lose that. I mean, back in the day, I used to say to people, after the first call, second, third call, you have a good relationship and they're your coach on all of these sales language we could use. But, can I put this in my pipeline? Are you comfortable with me doing that? And when they say no, it's like, okay, why? And you have a conversation. But I always get frustrated when my teams don't do that. It's like, why are you asking that question? Because if you're talking to a tire kicker for a year, and in your pipeline for a year, that number's been in my figures, I'll report it to the board for a year. When it goes away, who's going to replace that number? Because I'm signing for that. And that's unfortunately what salespeople don't realize is that these numbers that you're making up, say if you're a public organization, these numbers that you made up in your sleep in the morning on the way to work, they go to the board, you go to a commit and you commit that number. And when the number changes, it can, in fact, infect your share price, your shareholders, and the business, right? So actually, the one thing about getting senior is you understand how forecasting works. Also, you realize that everyone makes it up.
Because forecast is because
only we do that. Forecast properly. No, they're even worse. They haven't got the detail, remember. They haven't got the granular information, or they don't know who you're talking to. They'd see the numbers like, this bit we're cut out. Now we're going to forecast that. I'm like, based on what? That's the number. It's half the number that is in it. And what if it's all crap, guys? What if it's all bullshit? We're all going to get fired.
I find with sales guys, you get one of two. You either get the sandbagger who keeps them quiet. So he goes, he thinks he might hit KPI, not quite sure, but really he's like 3 times ahead. And then you got the inflator. So you got sandbagger inflator, and you got the guy who just goes, got loads and no problem at all. And you're like, you look at what their real pipeline is, you're like, you're miles off.
To be fair, one of these behaviors, like if you have a child, right? The parent has to take responsibility for the behaviors at some point. All these behaviors are driven by their management, or driven by how your leader speaks to you or demands things from you, which creates these behaviors. If they said, you're not going to get fired, you haven't got a pipeline, well, let's have a conversation about why you haven't. Is it your data? Is it your pitch? Do you need training? Is it your
work ethic, attitude, all sorts of things.
All of these variables no one talks about. They just go, you've got pipeline or not? No, fired. Oh, you've got pipeline? I'll just promote you to a manager because you've hit your number twice. So You've got all these managers that are that don't care about their team because they just got promoted because they're good at sales, but they don't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
want to manage people. They don't give a shit. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, they don't care about training and upskilling and God forbid them showing you how they did it. So, how many people do you know that get promoted in sales because they closed a lot?
Yeah,
What's that
yeah,
got to
yeah,
do with
yeah.
management?
Yeah, yeah, nothing to do with
Whatsoever.
management, yeah. So Co, so obviously as a consultant that helps companies to grow and to embed teams and all these kind of
Yeah,
things, what's the solution to that? Because you've got the guy who wants to get a promotion, he wants to get paid more, but he's
yeah.
got none of the skills, and actually he might not even want to manage, but it's the natural progression. So what would your advice to a company be?
Well, it's not the natural progression. I think let people do what they want to do and be the best at what they can be best at and enable them to do that. Not based on some old school formula or of a book that doesn't exist. Look at their data sets. Look at how, someone that has the most talk time and the less days off and has a run rate of business to a certain percentage, that's your manager. They care
Mm,
about the company, they care about the customers, they have good, decent conversations. Someone that um, is very, very good at closing, that has the most complaints, people moan about them or complain about them, they don't collaborate, the
not a
departments
team
don't even know
player.
their name.
Yeah.
Why the heck are you hiring these girls and guys to be managers? They're not gonna be any effective
Mm,
with your revenue. They're the wrong people. Let them do what they're doing for your revenue. Name it at your margin because they're always going to cross corners and they're never going to listen to anyone. Let them to get their revenue and do that, but don't make them managers unless you know they have a goal of wanting to do that. They have the attributes to do that. There's a really simple test now that you can do to know if someone has the attributes to be a leader or not. And
mm,
they're cheap as chips. They're like 100 quid. These psychological tests are there
mm,
for this reason, which no one seems to use. These are in Japan, use them in China and other parts of the world, use them in Sweden. Like, why aren't we doing this? What
mm,
actually, there should be attributes. We clearly are comfortable talking online on a podcast, and we can do that for nothing. A lot of people can't. But imagine taking us two out of the scenario right now, and because someone else talks at work, we go, right, you're on a podcast. And they would be awful and they'd be pressurizing. They would hate it. So why would we make that square peg round hole
mm.
mentality? Live away from that. One, ask people rather than saying, "Oh, we see you on this kind of trajectory performance." That shark salesperson just said, all he hears is more money. Yeah, yeah, sign me up. Right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Sign
Dollar
me up.
signs.
They didn't realize they've got to manage people and deal with their personalities when they're sick and their kids ill and they when they go to doctors or their mental health is bad or they don't feel safe at work or someone has done something wrong to them or there's racism or go on and on about what it's like to be a manager. All they want to do is close, right? Let them
Yeah, yeah,
close.
yeah, yeah.
Let managers manage. Your manager's not your best salesperson. They're the best person at managing people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
difference here.
There is a big, big, big difference. I along the journey, I've done some of these tests myself. Like I've done disc assessment. I don't know if you heard of disc assessment.
I love DISC.
Disc is great, isn't it? Yes.
Brilliant.
So I'm a high seeker. I'm all about process, right? I'm like process driven. And one of the things that when I was working with another company, they got everyone to do a test. And what I recognized is that what the sales manager was failing to do was to change the style in which they were managing each person. Because I'm
I
someone
don't
who
know
likes
one
total
style.
independence. Like leave me to it.
Yeah,
I'm going to get on and do it.
yeah.
So I don't need to be micromanaged. Whereas other people, they won't feel it as micromanagement. They'll feel it as support. And so they
Support.
need that, right?
Yeah,
And I could see that this manager who had been recently promoted really didn't have the skills on knowing how
yeah,
I needed to be managed or somebody else needs to be managed, which were totally different in
yeah.
order for us to be the best of
Ex
what we were doing
exactly
already.
that. I've had management training once in my whole career, but I've been a manager for years. But if you're a manager, don't they train you how to be a better manager? Or why isn't there a course about leadership? No, they don't exist. Okay, we'll just make it up and we'll just blag it then.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And ruin people's lives and careers because we don't know what we're doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We're guessing, right? It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It is a fascinating thing. I think the other thing that I noticed again in kind of corporate world was that the person being promoted by far and away was not necessarily the right person for the job. But
No.
what they were fantastic at was corporate politics.
Yeah, or they just get on with the owner,
Get on with the owner,
or
boss's
the
son.
like,
Everybody else is wrong except
yeah,
from him.
come on, it's like it's obvious when you walk in and they go for lunch, they play golf, and all that good stuff. They don't have to do the expenses at the same time as us. And you can, I don't miss that in the corporate world. That BS, and politics, and the fakeness of people. I don't miss that for 1 minute.
I'm going to bring you back to a question prior to our recording, fear of lossing again.
Recording now?
Yeah, definitely recording that. The question I asked you previously, and you were just in the middle of it when I paused this, and I was like, I'm not recording. Is asked you around the difference. I think this is a prime place to put this back in, because I think it's such an important topic that people don't understand, which is the difference between the relationship that you have as a consultant to an employee. That is a big
chalk
thing.
and cheese. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when people work for me, I see them as my partners. I see them as collaborators. I don't see them as below me or that I control them. And I think this is what's misguided. When the CEO walks in, everyone has to stand up. Or I used to work for a company and he was the MD, right? Really cool guy, really charismatic. When the CEO came, he was a shell of himself. It was like that kind of parent and child scenario that comes in when you get lesser. You feel like they're above you, and you would have to wear certain kind of shirts, and we couldn't wear trainers. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, be yourself. You're doing well. The EBITDA looks good. Why are you so stressed out when the CEO comes? It's that mentality. He didn't see him as a partner. He saw him as a employee. He saw him as a work bee, as I call it. I'm not a work bee. I'm here to collaborate and partner with you. As a non-executive director, as a board advisor, as a fractional CRO, they respect me because they see me as their level. If for 1 second I was employed by them, the dynamic would immediately change to your work bee and I'm the man again, or I'm the woman. And unfortunately, I don't know why that exists, but everyone I've ever worked for will complain and say, do you think you're on my level? You're not. Like, how dare you? I've been told in so many of my roles by people, like, you're not my level. Why are you speaking to me like that? Or
Fuck.
why
Oh,
do
it's
you,
disgusting though, isn't it? It's
even
disgusting. Even on a human level, it's disgusting.
They're like, how dare you think that you're at my level?
Mate, I hate that.
I was like, wow, okay, interesting. Which is why I spent my whole life trying to get to that level, realizing that shit.
I want to be you until I'm you. Right?
I realized the hard way that actually, you know what, this isn't fun and it's not customer facing, it's just paperwork, and the politics are even worse. And you're seen as an equal, but how they speak to each other, Jesus. I thought that when you got to a board level, when you're C level, everyone's polite and everyone is educated to a certain level, or people, I don't know, I thought there's this made up club of amazingness and niceness and wealth. But they're just like us, they just got different job titles. They're just arseholes. And I found that really frustrating. I was so disappointed. It was like, get into your dream. There's nothing because you perceived it to be. Yeah. Going through that though made me a better leader, makes me a better person to work with. I met with 2 CEOs today that are like, Cohan, we love collaborating with you, we love working with you, we love the strategy, and we're all CEOs, right? There's no one higher or lower. No one's paid more or less. We're all just trying to achieve something for the customer. That's what I'm passionate about, solving problems. I don't care whose title is who, or who has their money, or who lives where. Let's just solve stuff. Let's actually make a difference in someone's life or a business. That's what I'm here for. And I've always been at that since I was a teenager to now. But it took me a long time to be able to adjust and be agile enough to understand how it works and the politics that are involved, unfortunately.
It's a skill all by itself, and it's a skill I wasn't willing to learn. I just didn't have the fucking time for it. Genuinely, I was just like, it's just not me. It's so fun, this thing here on authenticity. I just couldn't do it. Genuinely couldn't do it. Like I wouldn't get involved in these types of conversations. And I just couldn't. Yeah, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's tough. But a lot of it isn't people's fault because we do what we've seen or what we understood or what we think is best practice, and then we just do the same thing. So unless someone says, hey, what are you doing? This is wrong. Like, for example, I will coach leadership teams on how to be more equitable, right? They don't really know what that means. So I don't know. Throw questions at me. There's no stupid answer here. Just be free and open. They're like, thank God. What does this mean? What does that mean? Can I say this? Can I say that? And it's, we're so many pronouns now, and what you cannot say. We're so sensitive around race, and people are confused. So I give them a space where they can really be themselves for a moment. And then as soon as my coaching's over and I see their staff around them, they put up this kind of persona. And I think that I thought that I had a persona and I had to code switch, or I had to cover who I was. Didn't realize that they were doing that too. They're not themselves. When you play golf, or when you go on holiday, like on SKO or a quarterly review, and you're on a flight with someone. Say, for example, we'd go from London to Las Vegas every quarter for our quarterly reviews and stuff. You're on a plane with someone for 11 hours, they can't keep up the tense at some point when they're tired or they're waking up, they're themselves. And you're like, who the fuck is that? Like, why aren't you like this all the time? Like, I like this guy or like this girl. And because I was good at what I was doing, I was always with leadership or around them, trying to learn from them, trying to get into the grips. And I realized that they're all trying to be something that they're not too. And none of them are themselves. And it made me feel really sad, because I thought that getting to that point, you could be yourself. Wear a t-shirt, flip flops, and be like, I'm a CEO and what? But it's like, no, because you've got board members and you've got people to, like, there's always someone to answer. There's no freedom. There's no, there's no unicorn of this is sales excellence and this is the ideal role and you're now amazing. It's about people around you, how you communicate, and the company you work for, and the culture, regardless of the role, which I took 30 years to realize.
Yeah, the company culture, I think, is. I think this might be something maybe we spoke about before. Is something that it might have been you point out to me, which is around company culture, and the company culture is never, in essence, wrong, because it might serve a purpose. Like, so if you go and work at Deloitte, for example, you'll be expected to be first in, last out. You've got to write every 15 minutes what you're doing. But when you leave Deloitte, you've got a badge of honor. I made it. Yeah. It's like doing your SAS training, your badge of honor, right? So it's a form of culture, which is kind of it's training you to a certain degree.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that we spoke about this briefly on our first ever call. I thought that culture, and I've gone to this in interviews a lot, people when they interview look for traits that they can relate to or understand or see themselves. So they go, oh, you played American football, or oh, you boxed, oh, you went to uni, oh, you're from London, or whatever. They're looking for something that says you're like me. Now, for me, in a kind of in a white middle class world, that's really hard sometimes, because I'm so different. So I would have to enable things or attributes that they could find that's similar. And then they would think that culturally, and go, and I saw the culture, like, well, it's about, and they talk about themselves. We work hard, or we come first in, last out, or we document everything we do. You're talking about you and what you are as a person, not what the culture of the business is. And in fact, Mr. Leader or Mrs. Leader, you don't know what the culture is because everyone lies to you. What I realize is I want to speak to 5 people in the team, don't report to you before I start here. Why? Because that's how I know the company. So I started to turn down jobs. When you speak to the team, they go, it's fucking horrible. I hate working there. I want to leave. I haven't hit commission ever. I hate the CEO. He never talks to us. He doesn't understand what we do every day. And I'm like, wow. But to him, he's like, no, everyone's hardworking. No, he's hardworking. He starts at 6 a.m. and finishes at 10 p.m. He notes down everything. His employers don't. So that's a huge difference. And I realize now, when I talk about culture, I ask my team what they think the culture is or what they want the culture to be. I look at how they behave, and that's the culture. It's not what I do or what I see. I have the idea, and I've started the company, I have no idea what the culture is. That's what my team will tell me. And I
That
think
is a
people don't understand
fascinating
that.
perspective. Yeah, that is a fascinating bit. I've not heard it put in that way before, but
Yeah.
I completely resonate with what
Yeah.
you're saying.
If you go, let me speak to the cleaner, the woman in the canteen that hears everything, right? Let me speak to Sue. Fine. I want to speak to a cleaner who's there late and sees who's late and who's working, right? I want to speak to an SDR, someone in inside sales, someone that's smashing it. I want to speak to someone in marketing and someone in finance. And if I can't have those conversations, then our conversation stops. See,
Mm.
if you don't let me, you know it's bullshit and you're hiding, or you have no idea what the culture is because you don't, because no one speaks to you as a leader. No one comes into your office. When was the last time you actually walked the sales floor or spoke to one of your team or did you tell me their names? And it just goes quiet.
I'm going to have another little moment of silence there because anyone listening that's looking to go up the corporate ladder, as it were, or change position, I think that's such a good piece of advice, which is
Yeah,
make sure you go speak to different departments, different levels in the hierarchy chain, wherever it might sit, and get a
yeah,
real feel for what people actually describe it to be. Because,
yeah.
and I'm sure I could have saved myself a lot of pain if I
Oh,
had done
wow. Oh, man. I wish I'd known that earlier, man. I really wish I'd known that earlier. I didn't find it until quite late. And also, don't do it until you get your offer,
it. Mm,
or people can sabotage you.
mm,
And as we spoke about, the people that get promoted or hired because how funny they are with leadership, I've had it before where I've spoke to someone, they're like, oh shit, this guy's going to be better than me. And then they've gone to the leader, oh, I wouldn't hire him. I didn't get a good vibe.
mm.
I don't think he's the right fit for the team. But,
Ah, yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah,
they're going
yeah,
to
yeah,
actually, even though we're going to offer you now, we're not going to offer you.
yeah.
And that's happened to me a few times.
Oh,
And
wow.
I've called them out on it. And they said, oh, no, we'll offer you. I said, no, I don't want it now. But I'm just calling you out for your bullshit. Because I know
Yeah,
you were going to offer. We've had a great relationship to this point. And I know that you spoke to someone and they've said something. If
yeah.
that's how you work, I don't want to work for you. That's not how I want to live.
That is
But
great.
if someone new doing that, don't do it until you get your offer in writing.
Yeah.
When you get your offer in writing and they say this offer is based on uh, references which are absolutely insane and bullshit now. It's basically start date and date. There's no such thing as references. Um, your driver's license, passport, all that stuff. You apply and say, I took this offer based on me speaking to 4 people from these roles, make myself available, I'll come into the office, whatever. And based on those conversations, I would accept.
That is such sound advice. That is sound advice.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
it
and
really
it's
works.
very rare to hear that level of well, it's that level of experience. It's to
Yeah,
really knowing how the how to join the recruitment process. And
yeah.
also, I think that that's a really self-empowered way of being
It
able
is
to
because
approach
the
work.
person that's recruited you in talent does not speak to anyone in sales or marketing, or unless they're their mate. They don't even know how they work every day. And he
Yeah.
says, talent, like, what's my day to day like? And they go, that's you. They go to their manager and say, you write me a day to day. The manager writes out what he thinks is the optimal day to day, and
Yeah.
they give it to you. It's not what it's like to work for you.
Yeah.
I want to know what it's really like. What's day to day like? What's my first month like? What's my first quarter like? We're going to expect you to close something. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But
As
don't
long as
lie.
I know.
Say,
Yeah.
no, it's chilled, on board, do your plan. You get there on the first day. Yeah, have you spoken to anyone at HSBC? It's like, I've had a cup of coffee. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
part, mate? It doesn't mean what you do yet. What are you talking about? Just put it in CRM, then we can tag it. And then they say, so the board don't see everything at stage 1 to 3. Can you put it at stage 4 just so we can see it and we can shout you out and have conversations? Okay. I'll put it to stage 4. But then the stage 4 is a point in the sales cycle that means something. I've not even phoned them yet. But I mean, when you're at stage 5, all of your conversations are rushed. They're uncomfortable. The
Mm.
customer feels rushed. Oh, but the board can see the client. Great. But now the customer's pissed off. You don't want to cross sell, upsell. It might close because you're good, but you just fucked up that whole sales cycle because of the impatience of your leader to not understand how sales works properly. That happens all the time. Everyone right now listening, go to your pipeline, look at the stages, and take it back 2 or 3. Because I'm telling you, they're all in the wrong place. Because of the pressure that you feel. And in your sales call, say, look, Alastair, I know you told me to put it on stage 4, but these are the reasons why I can't. Because I'm single-threaded, there's not multiple stakeholders. I don't know who the competitors are. I don't know if they've got budget. I don't know when they're going to buy. Apart from a good conversation, I know fuck all. We're at stage 4 now? Oh, no, yeah, you can leave it at stage 1.
And I think this is a message primarily for leaders, whether that's your manager, sales director, whatever it is, because the politics that is dictated to you, which is, as you say, put it in stage 5, the board needs to see more stage 5s, right? Yeah. And so it's really for the leadership team to be able to empower the sales team to go, let's be real. Let's have a really honest pipe.
We're going to base our forecasting to our board with actual data and integrity, or we're all going to be bullshitters forever. Because when the CRO says that's what our number is, it's made up. And now I understand, feel sorry for the leaders. I've been in that position. So, you need 2.5 mil from your team. I'm like, we've got 800K. No, I need 2.5 mil. You need to stretch it. Go back to them. So I go back to my team and say, I need 2.5 mil. They go, just find it. Then it goes to their ladies or their BDRs and go, hey, need 2.5. So everyone is chatting shit because of right? Gets down to the BDRs. Have you met this person yet? Have you met Alastair? No, I'll meet him tomorrow. Phone him now. Yeah. Was it a good call? Yeah. This pipe.
So it's around 700K.
Play a chair. Puts it in. We've gagged it. You had a good call. You're all right. So did Jeff put that in pipe? Yeah? Yeah. Good. Good call? Yeah? Good get a buy? Yeah. What's that? This is worth between 800K and 2.5 million we need. They're happy. Then the pressure's off. Quarter goes by, then it all starts up again.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, Alastair, you're now on a pip because the pipeline that I made you put in as a leader is bullshit and you haven't sold anything. I've not trained you or given you any value education about our brand. I didn't even onboard you, but now you're on a pip. And then I'm going to fire you and do the same thing again in the next 6 months, and the same thing again in the next 6 months. I was like, it's bonkers. What's going on?
This is the politics. This is the corporate politics.
I coach people in pips, and I say, you had any training? No. Were you onboarded? No. What were they giving you apart from an outcome and a pen? Nothing.
Yeah.
Who's your partner or account manager? Who's your marketing assets? What pages have you got? What YouTube channel do you use? What case studies you've got? Like, I don't know the case studies. Like, how have you been onboarded and you don't know the top 2 case studies? Like, this is where we win. This is where we lose. This is who we compete against. If you come across them, you need to walk away. It's a waste of time. All of these really important things to make great salespeople are left aside because of all of the bullshit that people want to rely on.
Yeah.
And then you've got the audacity to put them on a pip. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Of course, actually, because a certain leader has hired that person and they're at a certain level, they say, I hired Alastair, he's absolute shipwreck. I look bad. So actually, it's your fault because you're below me. You let me hire him. You're on a pit.
Yeah. And it just, the spiral continues. Continues. Yeah.
No, he's on my team. They're supposed to close. It's their fault. I'm not taking the pip. They're on the pip.
Yeah.
Everyone's just lying to everyone else.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine how the world goes round.
I have thought that so many times. And
I work in South Africa, Germany, France, Portugal, Spain, Australia, America, East Coast, or West Coast, India, Holland. I've worked everywhere, and it's the same shit. Culturally, differences.
Yeah.
People are more fairer or less fair.
Yeah.
More direct or less direct than the language they speak.
Yeah.
But it's the same bullshit. of if you get with a manager, you're good. If you don't, you're shit. No one gets trained on board, and salespeople are just seen as a commodity that you can just change
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whenever you like. Even though they keep the lights on and keep everyone else in jobs. You know, finance is like, I'll sack that guy. I'm like, doesn't he pay your wages?
Yeah, exactly.
For the last 3 quarters. Why would he not you?
I've come across that before. They were making these redundancies, and they were going around the room. I'd already found another
Sales.
job, and I was like, but he's closed 140 grand, and it's the first quarter. His salary's 30 grand a year. I was like, in what way does that make any logical sense? Why would you? I honestly, it was so baffling. I just couldn't understand it at all. Yeah, I just couldn't understand it.
I've been told I've been made redundant 5 times in my life, and I've been told before. I'm like, why am I going? I'm the best person you have. They go, because it's too expensive.
I'm like, what? But
Yeah,
I'm not too
your
expensive. I'm
salary,
bringing in more than my salary. I'm justified doing this.
but what they say is your commission and your expense on the books. If you look at beta, profit and loss, you're costing us more, regardless of what you sell revenue, depending on the GP. Better to keep 2 lower people that sell less, we pay them less commission, their base salary is cheaper than to pay you when you're going to overachieve and sell more. I know it's bonkers.
Wow.
I know it's bonkers, but I've been let go when I'm the best salesperson.
That is
more than once.
That is just insane. It's
Yeah.
And where does that come from? Where does it stem from? How
I think also it comes from what we speak about, right? They go, oh, does Cohan want my job?
Okay. It's fear. Comes from fear, essentially.
Oh shit, he sold so much. That mentality of, oh, you're going to be GM because you've sold loads, right? And I see it. That's not how I got promoted, by the way. Otherwise, I'd be fucking head of Mark Spencer right now.
Yeah.
Bank of England, of course, like over $80 million in my career, right?
Yeah.
That's not what happened to me, but I can see why they're like, yeah, a bit of a character. People get on with him. He's closing so much. When I get an opportunity, I'm going to give it to that person. I think that's what happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is mad. So the only time that I've had a really good onboarding experience was this software company I worked at, and what they got everyone to do in their first week was to create a presentation about the company and the product, all the pros, the cons, everything, and then present it to the team.
Yeah.
And it was quite a lot of pressure for someone who's just joined a company, right? So it's quite full on.
Loads.
I used that presentation for the rest of the time working there. That same presentation that I made, and other people in the team asked me for my presentation.
Yeah. Well, even if they said, look, great deck, but this is the deck we have. And,
Yeah, of course.
If only, right? But it's good because you have to learn stuff, you have to research.
It forced me to really understand everything.
What your learning style is, because you're listening, you're learning, you're writing, you're hearing, you cover everyone. We spoke about different ways of behavior, personality types. Creating a presentation means it might look shit, but the content is great. Or I'm not very good at graphics, but I delivered it brilliant. Like, you get to see everyone's skills as well.
It's
really good.
Yeah. I want to go back to that thing around, like, so here we have, like, let's say the CEO. So we've got the top leader, right? So the chief of the team, right? And then why is it that the CEO is, and this is something I'm doing even in my personal life and career life, is just fucking fact checking everything, right? Because I think social media has taught me I've got to fact check, right? I remember first reading things going, oh, it's amazing. And then someone goes, well, have you fact checked? Now I fact check fucking everything. So even when someone in my team says to me, they go, oh, XYZ is happening. I'm like, man, let's dive into that a little bit more detail. Like, because we were looking at 2 different campaigns, and he said, oh, one's been really successful. We've got like loads of leads, and the other one's not been that successful. I'm like, all right, let's fact check that. And I was like, oh, you now I look at the numbers, there's 1 lead difference. I was like, the campaigns are identical. Like, it's all fine. And the same with a client. Like, a client said, these leads aren't qualified. I said, oh, okay, let's fact check that. So I went with them through. I said, well, this one is. We've had 8. It's been a week. So just fact check everything. So as CEOs, I think my message would be, fucking fact check. When Mr. Sales Director or Chief CRO is going, oh, it's their fucking fault. Well, let's have a look at that.
Well, again, right, there's lots at play here. One, if you hired that person you're fact checking, does you look bad to the board if it's your fuck up? One.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you're basically saying, you know what, guys, I fucked up and hired someone that's shit in a really senior role, who are paying a lot of money. Okay, anyone at C-level that's fired within 12 months, you've spent their base salary, and it costs 1.5 times their base salary to onboard them and do their salary and benefits and that. So actually, you spent the salary plus 1.5 times that.
Wow.
So at what point do you think, actually, let's reconcile, let's understand where we're at, let's draw a line in the sand, let's move forward and work with this person rather than getting rid of them at any level? This is the problem. When you hear about board members getting rid of CEOs, right? And that extreme example was because they've hired someone who's gone rogue, they've done something publicly that's affected their share price, and they've got rid of them, rather than thinking about the who, whys, and wheres. So sometimes fact checking doesn't always work, because if you're fact checking yourself or answering your own homework, as I call it, you're going to put whatever answers benefit you.
Mm.
This is the problem.
Mm.
This is the problem. And imagine working for an organization and fact checking everyone from CRO to SVP to, sorry, CRO to EVP to SVP to VP to director to GM in that order. Okay, they're all sales roles now, and they've all lied about their pipeline. You're going to sack your entire leadership team.
Mm.
You know, it's probably easier before our quarter results. We're going to sack all our AEs, their salary, which you think about an enterprise AE, what it costs. You're going to wipe off 1-2 mil off your EBITDA. The share price looks like it's going up and you've got good margins. Then after the quarter, when we announce our results, we just do a hiring spree again and we rehire. So
This is such a fascinating thing to
it's not a
listen to.
coincidence.
Yeah.
If you Google now, the hiring and firing, I don't need to mention the companies, it's public knowledge. Google who's hiring and who's firing. I mean, thousands of people. And look at when they announce their results. It's not a coincidence that they do it a month before their results are published. And then after, they just rehire all those roles again. And to me, what's sickening is the lives it affects, the mental health it causes, even though we're laughing. And it's sad because, imagine that I fire you now as my podcast co-host. This is our business. I announce my results, we're in profit. And then the next month, I'm hiring a podcast co-host. You're like, that's my role. I thought it weren't available anymore. There's no law that stops them from doing this. It's not illegal. This is what happens. So it's a real tough, bullshit world in corporate. That's how it works.
I think
It's all funny numbers. So, the funny numbers that we're laughing about, we're making up that the AE makes up, Mr. AE, even at entry level, at ECS AE, that looks after these tiny accounts, and it's got a tiny target of like 100K. He's lying about his pipeline. These behaviors that are in him happen. So when he's promoted and he is SVP one day, it's the same AE from 30 years ago, right? These attributes that haven't been managed away are just bigger. So when the pipeline is exaggerated and wrong, that never changes. And then when you're at board level and then you go, shit, we need to cut these people because everybody is lying to that point where the numbers are going to be affected, but all your share price is going to be affected, all your shareholders are going to be pissed that the numbers aren't where it needs to be. But you go to the stock market and, Wolf of Wall Street, right? It's all just, this isn't real money. It's all just making an assumption and a guess of what might happen. And that's how the math in stock works. None of it's real. It's all bullshit. It's just like monopoly money that affects our interest rates, our mortgage rates, affects how much we buy shit in the supermarket, all based on a group of men sat there making up numbers.
Making up numbers. Yeah, making
That's
up
what
numbers.
they're doing. If we're being real, I'm being, laying it bare like it's not that simple, but they're just fucking making shit up. It's not real. And they guess right sometimes. Sometimes they guess wrong. It affects the whole world.
Or the majority of the time.
And it affects the whole world, right?
Yeah.
These are just normal people, doing what they do from whatever job where they started. They've got to that point, where you're what's the Bank of England, the leader called? Director General. He's that same AE, but from Eton. But back in the day, he has that same mentality of fudging the numbers, and he's still doing it now, but just for the government. Nothing changes. Nothing's changed. Just get paid a lot more money. Or, they've got their expenses that are 500K, and their daughter signs it off, and they're doing the same shit that we do, but it's bigger scale.
Bigger scales, yeah, bigger scales. Yeah, that is funny. I met someone recently who was super wealthy guy. We were talking he was talking about £10 million property, just sold, all this kind of stuff. We were talking about budgeting, and I was saying about how I got these little savings pots for everything, and he did the same thing. But it was at such a bigger scale. It goes, yeah, well, allocate 200 grand to this and there's this. Yeah. I was just like, it was exactly the same behavior patterns, and everything was all the same. It was just way bigger scale. I think one thing I wanted to raise is like, so someone who's listening and they're maybe they're in corporate, or they're thinking about maybe even getting their first job in corporate.
Run away.
What is the kind of takeaway learning thing, right? And how do you either work with it or work?
Want to play rugby? Can you do anything else?
But because I didn't enjoy it myself, and so I can't be someone to be an advocate to be like, oh yeah, that's the way to go, go up the kind of ladder. But I think that isn't generic to everybody. Some people are really good at it.
I'll say it changes. Like, listen, I speak to founders and CEOs now that are 20, 21, 22 kids that have created a company or have a business mindset. And it's changing now. It's not like these old school kind of, in the Muppets, the old guys. In the Muppets.
Yeah.
Like back in the days, like C-level, that's like the aim. Right?
Yeah.
I'm down to get there. I'm going to be old. I'll be a chairman. So, people now have changed that mentality, and everyone can start a business and everyone can do anything. I would say be entrepreneurial. I would say having a single income is for fools. Diversify your income.
Yeah.
Then when you get made redundant or you lose a customer,
it's not as big a deal.
You have other clients, other partners. So be disciplinarian. Do have multiple assets. Have a side hustle here, a side hustle there. All of your passions, try and monetize them, because then you won't work a day. Like this podcast isn't work.
Yeah.
We're having a good time. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
This hour and a half hasn't been lost grinding like I'm watching the clock and it's horrible and I'm not with my child, or I'm not with my partner, I'm not with my friends. This is a good time, so I value this time. So imagine if everyone did that every day with what they did. No more dreading Monday. Oh, Monday's a cloud. No, it's not. Monday's the start of a new week, start something new. And Monday's an opportunity. That means you've got a new week in your life. That can be taken away really quickly.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be with a person that doesn't see Mondays no more, right? So let's change that mentality. Stop doing shit you don't like. Don't do stuff you hate. Do stuff you love or you're passionate about that you like, and monetize it. There'll be a way. And whether you work with a coach, whether you do a personality trait test and see where you fit in the world. And if you're going to go to corporate, go in, blinkers up, really mindful of the bullshit, know how to play the game, and don't let it suck you in. Don't get caught up in the corporate BS.
Laugh at it.
Be like in the Matrix. Be Neo. Dodge the bullets and bounce around and navigate them and laugh at them and let them do what they're doing if you have to go into it. But I would say that, create your own environment, create your own wealth. You don't have to go into corporate anymore. I went to IBM back in the day. IBM's not a bad company. And they call them like IBMers. These people that have worked there for like 20 years, 25 years. Like, it's like a life sentence. I think the world's changed now. And I think that, you do anything or work. I've worked, all over the world, work anywhere. You don't need to graduate from school and get a cat and a dog and live next door to your parents. And hopefully one day I'll be the manager of Tesco. It's like, man, own your own supermarket, create your own, go to farmers, create your own supply channel. Do anything now, with the internet and with an idea and a passion, go for it. That's what I would say.
I love that the answer to that question was, what to do if you join corporate, don't fucking join. That's the take home. Don't fucking, and I would say the same, but exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Go do, and I think that's a very empowering thing that you've said there, which is, do the thing that you're passionate about, do the thing that you really, really enjoy.
I mean, listen, corporate can teach you a lot, give you stability.
Yeah. A lot of skills.
To a point that can give you some skills. them what it is. Some corporations are amazing,
Yeah.
some aren't. And unfortunately, you don't know that until you're there because they lie to you. Everyone talks about people lying on their CVs and LinkedIn and nothing's real. Neither do they. When they tell in the interview, they're selling to you. They're
Yeah.
giving you, they want you, they're trying to get you to join them. So they're lying too,
Yeah.
so until you get there, that's why speaking to those 5 individuals or 2 individuals that are working there, they're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah. Yeah.
like, do not join it. It's
Yeah, yeah,
awful.
yeah, 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 yeah. Run for the hills, my friend. You're
You
still
know?
out, stay out.
Or even, I say to my mentees, go on LinkedIn, go on the company and go on LinkedIn and say, hey, think about working at your company. What's it like? People will go, oh, and they have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Just ask.
Yeah. That's I think that's a very, very clever tactic to actually have conversations in, because not everyone's, I think me and you, Co, are pretty fucking confident people, right? Not everyone's got that level of confidence to go to
Yeah.
the employer and go, I want to speak to 5 people. But
Yeah.
messaging on LinkedIn, I think everyone's got that because of internet dating. Everybody
Yeah.
can message someone on the internet and be like, can I have a quick chat with you? I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea. Really top advice, that one.
Even if you haven't got a voice, you don't want to be talking on the call.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just have a little
reply.
little message chat. I want to talk
What's
about,
like in your team,
I want to talk a little bit, Co, about your coaching, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that's something that we touched on the first time we ever spoke. Was, one of the things, one you really enjoy and something you do now is coaching, and I have had a coach myself, so I really
Yeah.
understand the benefits of it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that that was popping out in my head whilst we were talking before around, how sales managers haven't given the sales guy, like, have you had an onboarding? Like, has he helped you with what the USPs are, the pain points, the case?
Yeah.
Has he had to give any training, right? And generically, as a professional, somebody isn't there to help you out, right? In general, somebody isn't there. Someone
Yeah.
might be appointed to be your professional to help you
Yeah.
out as a
But they're
manager,
not.
but that doesn't mean that they're actually going to do it. And also to help you navigate your career. Like, what is the right decision? Is it the right time to leave my job? Is it not? What should I be looking for? Where can I really, what skill set do I have that I enjoy the most, right?
Yeah.
So I think for you as a coach, right? You as a coach, if you were to have someone who's kind of brand new, what would be the process that you take them through to help them identify within themselves, one, what is it they really, really love, and how to navigate what is that's going to be the best direction for them to go in based on the thing that
Yeah.
they enjoy the most.
I think initially people can find it quite invasive, but then they find it find it quite enlightening because I'll take you on a journey really initially of just finding out who the heck you are. Some people find themselves in places based on what their parents want or what their wife said that they should do or what their dad did. They don't stop and think what they want to do. So initially, I really want to identify who you are, what makes you tick, what you like and don't like. Once I've done that, we can then look and say, actually, is the world you're in anything like the world you told me that you want to be in? And if it is, great. Then why have you come to me? Let's understand, what challenges you have or what you want to get better at, more slick at, or want support with. Or do we totally transform you into someone else? And that's more around your online brands, your personal persona, and your CV, etc., etc. So your online brand is really important. A lot of people don't understand that. But as a coach, most people don't know who they are, and most people think they don't like who they are. Then I think we're quite self-loathing as individuals. We often are our worst enemies or our worst critics. It's my job to kind of be that kind of fan, that fan of yours, and really bring you up and give you confidence and bring you back to some level of positivity. Because the world can be such a dark place that let other people slag you off. Don't do it to yourself because
Mm,
someone else will do it for you. Trust me.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you need to be filled with positivity and actually and love and respect for yourself. Give yourself for making mistakes, move forward, and stay as positive as possible. And then really let's look at, are you operational? Are you technical? A lot of technical people are in sales roles. A lot of salespeople are in technical roles. A lot of marketing people in operational roles. So you're in the wrong role. It
Mm,
feels uncomfortable because you don't like doing these things because they're not part of your personality traits that suit you. Let's bring it back and say, what transferable skills have I got here that I can make here? Employers don't necessarily say, Alastair, you've done a podcast, we're hiring someone for a podcast. Give me Alastair, you're a mechanic. But the attributes you have we see can be transferable into a podcast. They're still hiring you because it's about what they can gain from your attributes and your acumen and
Mm.
understanding, not what you did last. And I think that, and going back to the salary conversation and when you should work in sales, they go, right, what were you earning, which they shouldn't be legally allowed to ask. They put 10% on. You're happy now, right? Great. Slap on the back. You earn 10% more. But what if you've always been earning the wrong salary? So I increased my salary in 8 years by 2,000%. Not because I'm a genius or because I'm amazing. I'm all right. Not amazing. It's because I was always paid wrong in the first place. So time I got paid what I should be being paid compared to my peers, it totally was skewed the data set because I've been paid wrong in the first place. It's like what you said, when you got to leave to get a pay rise. Actually, no. When you go to a job and they say this is the salary, when they say to you, what were your salaries? No, what is the salary range of the role? What salary band am I in? Oh, you're in band 7. Okay. Band 7 has a salary range of X to Y. What is that? Oh, it's that. Okay. That's where I think I sit. What you are being paid, what you are being paid is irrelevant.
Mm.
And I don't know why everyone asks that to save on budget. So what they would do is somebody that has a budget. And if they can hire 5 people instead of 2, they will. Because they can hire 5 people, because then when you've got someone that's below average above, they can just sack the person that's below, keep the one above, and so on and so forth, and keep that one rate. But actually, if you're all being paid in the range, they couldn't do that because their budget would be stopped because they couldn't hire anyone. So it's just a trick from the manager to pay you less so they can hire more people. That means you're not being paid your worth. You're not being paid what your peers are being paid. So if you are going into corporate, ask them the salary range, and then that salary range within that is what you get paid at the bottom or the top based on your experience level. Nothing to do with what you're getting paid now because it's irrelevant.
Mm.
You know?
No, I think anyone listening to this would be, I know that I am, so impressed with the level of experience and understanding and expertise that you're able, and so to be able to deliver things in such an articulate way that is easy to understand and easy. I certainly, that's my experience, easy to receive it. And coming with just such a depth of experience, you're able to depict all these different tactics, not just from an enterprise perspective and how to deal with politics, all these kind of things, but also as an individual and how to deal with things as an individual. And I absolutely would be an advocate for anyone listening to you, if they're resonating with this, to get in touch and have a conversation, because I can totally see. I know we said this before, is that with coaching, with someone who hasn't done coaching before, is you don't know you need it until you've had it, right?
Absolutely.
And once you've had it, you're like, fuck, I needed it.
Well, I've always used it whether I didn't know how to speak to a manager or they made me feel comfortable. Right, okay, I need a coach to say how to get around this. I'm not just going to give up. I'm too much of a fighter. I always fight. So coaches help me have the language or the persona or just that listening board to know how to navigate the corporate world, right? But the analogy that I always give is that, ask someone who their favorite athlete is. Is it Messi, Ronaldo, Usain Bolt, Federer? Name someone, and I'll name 5 of their coaches because they are coached heavily to be the best. And to get to that next level, to be the best, you need a coach. When they look at a triple jump or anyone in the Olympics, as soon as they've done that run or that jump, they look straight away at their coach. Michael Phelps had 3 coaches, one for breathing, one for technique, and one for diet. He was coached how to eat, to be at that level, coached how to breathe, coached on his technique. Because naturally, he's clearly going to be an Olympian, but would he have done what he did without his coaches? Would he be the most successful Olympian ever without them? Maybe not. Maybe he would have got silver. Maybe he would have got bronze. So to me, you don't need a coach because you're bad or because you're failing. You need a coach to be the best you could be, the best of the best. Any soldier or general, anyone in a high position, has people around them that support them. They do. You know,
I love that.
as a Samaritan and your listener, after every call, I would debrief that call with someone else. They would listen to me. We'd talk about it. We'd think about what that meant and how I felt and how that caller would have felt. And then I would learn or not. And then we'd go again the next night. Like, so there's no losing here or you're being looked down on or you're not good. It's like, no, I want to be better. I want to evolve. I want to, imagine someone now coming into sales and having you or I as a coach. They're going to step over their team in weeks, days and weeks, not months or years, because of the knowledge they have. I would have loved to be going to a QBR or going to sales meeting and have someone that had done it before tell me what I'm doing wrong and how I could be better, how I could do it even more slicker. But when I launched my coaching, it went to all of my AEs that I employed, that I was their manager for. I said, hey, you can actually have me now, like cheap as chips in your pocket. Oh no, I'm good. Like I'm okay. I don't need any help. I'm fine as I am. And one guy was like, I'm actually happy with my earnings and it actually wouldn't earn anymore. I was like, wow, why are you in sales? Like you actually should be in customer success because it's about helping customers, not earning money. And he's like, that's a good point. How do I do that? I went, like,
That one was for free.
it's strange to do that. I was like, damn it, you got me. You're a salesman. I went, no, I'm actually noticing something. Trying to fucking help you in here. I'm not trying to fucking money. This is the point. People was like, in America, they love it. Like, Americans like, oh my God, like, yeah, coach me. In England, it's like taboo. Like talking about mental health in England, it's like awkward. Americans like, I'm going to yoga on Friday and I'm seeing my psychotherapist on Saturday. No one says anything. Here, it'd be like, you're seeing who? What's that? Why have you got a therapist? What's wrong with you? My mental health is like, it's up and down. I've been since I was a kid. Like, shit.
Are you
It's even a question on a job form in the UK. Like, do you have mental health? It's like, what the fuck? We do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What does that mean? Do you have it? Yes or no?
Yeah.
What?
Like, well, there's a continuum. When we're on the continuum, where do I fucking check?
Yeah.
I'm not being lunatic.
Yeah.
There's stickers no mental health either. Like, where do we tick the spots? It's just funny, like culturally how we are. But yeah,
get me 10 pages. Let me answer that question properly.
no, my mentees right now, from Washington, Nigeria, a lot from Nigeria, all over the world. None from the UK, not one.
Wow, that's crazy.
Managed, I don't know, over 200 A's, 300 A's in my career. No, one of them think that they need or could help being coached.
That is
I think they see me probably still their boss or their manager or leader.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know me that, but I thought that was really odd. But yeah, I think there's 6 million people on LinkedIn, right? So you have to go to new people and new attributes and new connections. I thought you'd use my old connections and then leverage that. Sorry, my nose is always so blocked up. But yeah, I thought that was quite odd.
What's your favorite person to coach? Because I think that there's different people, right? So I've got a friend of mine who's a life coach and deals specifically just with people who are either artists, because he used to be an artist or is an artist, and I think he loves being an artist, or people who are kind of in holistic industries and that type of thing. That's his kind of forte. That's what he loves coaching. What would you say is what's your kind of persona that you love?
I love the journey. I love someone that hasn't maybe got the confidence. Someone who doesn't think that they can win and showing them how awesome they are. And watching them win is the most satisfaction that no money could ever pay. All of my mentees that I've coached in my first year is pro bono. But I get more than that from my paid roles. And I think volunteering the year before I was made redundant, that was my why. And I realized, wow, helping people is what I actually love to do every day. I don't care about the money. So I'm probably earning 9% less, but my mental health is better. I'm more happy in my relationship. I'm a better dad. I'm a better friend. I probably drink less in the pub, so she's probably pissed. The landlord. The other probably like, I like you and your stress.
Yeah.
You spend way more money on the phone. Everyone else is pretty happy, you know, because you found your wife, found my passion.
Mm. Mm. And it's not easy.
And podcasts, I love it. I want to start my own this year. This is my fifth one.
I'm
And I love
expecting
it.
an invite.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Of
what I'll
course.
do for you is I'll remind you to press record before we begin.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Especially this start as well. It's so annoying.
I know. Well, we'll just have to do another one, another conversation.
I'm happy to. I think definitely in the future, I'd like to do one and just really call out a lot of stuff we spoke about. There's a lot going on around the redundancies and people getting really depressed about it. And I think we need to call people out, not names. We need to start saying that these practices are wrong. No one's talking about it. No one's saying about, you know, men in general find it hard to talk about their feelings.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you look at the National Office statistics, the suicide rate in men is the highest. And the age is 16 to 22.
Wow, that's crazy.
That is just makes me feel sick. So, you know, it's come on. Let's talk about this more, and let's have safe spaces for people to talk about their feelings and realize it's not personal. It's corporate bullshit, you know.
Do you know what I felt really drawn to do at some point, and I hope one day this happens. Is to do a social media campaign, which is called "Let Men Cry," and just have videos of people crying, to normalize that is just an emotion. You know, something I teach my daughter is, you know, it requires much more bravery to embrace your emotion than it does to try to repress it. So someone who's able to articulate and to speak honestly and openly and vulnerably requires the courage. It's an act of courage, not an act of weakness. And I think that's where there's this huge misconception around what weakness is and how that's portrayed, opposed to what it actually is. And so I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm an absolute advocate to give people the space to be vulnerable, knowing that is totally okay. That is normal for a human being. You know, that's the norm.
Exactly that, right? Exactly that. We're saying about leaders, and I can't remember what the data is now, but a person's manager, it's over 30% how it affects their mental health. So imagine we send out all of these bad managers, or even managers that aren't meant to be, or they don't want to be managers, that are managing people. It just doesn't work. So that affects people's mental health as well. You know, so it shouldn't just be spoke about on Mental Health Day. Once a year. It should be every conversation, you know, and checking in, making sure people are okay, making sure they have someone to talk to, or an environment, or some way of vetting, you know, or releasing what's going on. And, you know, it really helps.
And in some respects, I think if you are managing people, you have a duty of care, right? And I think
you're supposed to.
Yeah, you're supposed to. I mean, I'm taking that away from the legal aspect, as in you as a human have a duty of care to ensure the people that you are. I don't even like the word manager. You are a coach. That's what you should be. If you're a manager, you should be coaching your fucking team.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be amazing if every manager had to have coaching? Wouldn't that make sense?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. Make it a mandatory thing.
My team. How do I do with this person in my team? All these personalities. You know, you have to treat everyone different. You can't have one tone for the whole team. One way I treat everyone. It just doesn't work. Everyone in the team is different. You know? But yeah. We're talking about art of the possible now.
Yeah.
Like, we're having leave it 2 hours now. I was like, wow.
So, Co, thank you so much for joining me on my first ever podcast. One of many to come.
When you look back and you look more slick, and you'll have, you know, some of the podcasts done when they've like pre-sent like topics.
Yeah.
Conversations, and then you stick to it. It's more rigid.
Yeah.
It's not as flowing as this, but I don't know how it'll edit, but we'll see. And you'll learn your way. It's good to be part. I like being part of the old
I am
days.
I
The
am
first
so
one.
pleased that you were the first person. One, because you didn't immediately cancel after I told you I forgot to press record.
Oh, well, why?
Yeah. Fuck this. You've had half an hour too long.
It's all over the place.
Oh, but it's been so enjoyable. I think it's obviously, you know, I've started this because I have such a passion for sales, right?
Yeah,
And it's a really authentic passion for sales. And I love also talking about leadership, because to me, leadership is all about personal development. I think we've really expressed that
yeah,
in this call.
yeah.
And I think not only has it been great to have you as a personality, because you're so easy to get on with and you're a great guy to talk
Thank
to,
you.
is because you are clearly so fucking knowledgeable about this stuff. You know, it's, you know, you've got such a good experience, honestly, such a good level of experience and expertise and understanding. And b- it comes across so clearly as you talk, because you're talking from such a level of experience, a depth
Mm,
of experience, which can't be taught on its own. It comes from experience. So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's been so good, and it's been so rewarding for me to learn, because I didn't stay in I was in corporate for 2 years, right? So 2.5 years. So it's
Mm,
such a small
mm,
experience of mine, and it was enough for me to go, no, that's not for me. So it's
yeah.
really great to hear more about what your experience has been and how that's been
Yeah,
impacting, and
but
how you dealt with
also,
it.
you know, fair, kudos to you to do something and not staying in it because you thought you had to, or you know, you broke away from it very quickly.
Yeah,
I've tried to leave so many times and then had doubt and doubted and gone back to it and gone back to it. You know, so many times. So
it
you know,
is hard.
you were actually brave to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And the thing that I would like to kind of finish off with, so finish off how we're gonna finish the podcast, is if you were to you're talking to a listener, so someone's listening to this. Hopefully, one day someone will listen to this. I'll be forcing my team. I'll be like, guys, we got a Zoom call. Press play. 2 hours. We got.
They're on camera, not looking at us, not talking or eating. I think it's fucking good. Like, it's half it's really positive. And it was like, fuck
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I only want to have
Positive
positive feedback at the end of this, guys. Positive feedback. Uh, you got bad stuff to say? Say it amongst yourselves.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Relax. Everyone's talking, and you come on, and it's like obvious. Your team are talking to you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I did that to me, I'd be like, look, what's up?
Yeah. What are you not telling me?
Yeah,
Yeah. What are you not telling me?
Is on the conversation. I'm not just like,
Yeah.
it's like, yourselves or like, what's going on? Anyway, yeah. What's the question?
So, if we were to summarize the past couple of hours of chatting, we were to summarize it into a single sentence. So, anyone who's feeling really, really lazy and they don't want to listen to the whole thing, they go, well, I'll just fast forward to the end. It's like reading the last chapter of a book. Right? They're like, what happened to damsel in distress? Uh, if we were to summarize this entire podcast,
It's not a podcast.
and you wanted press play. Press record. You got to press record. That's the summary to take home. I think anyone who's listening to this, it's likely they're going to be either into business and they're looking to grow their business through sales, and they're not quite sure how to do it, so they're looking for tips and techniques, or they're in sales and they're trying to understand what the landscape is like. You know, what are my different directions I can go in?
Yeah.
So if there was like one takeaway piece of advice for someone who might be listening to this, and it's from a sales perspective, what would that takeaway be?
I would say it's belief. Belief and hope. Two things. Belief in yourself, belief that nothing can stay the same, belief that you can change your scenario. You're not stuck in it. You don't have to be in that role or that situation. You don't have to. You feel like you do, but you don't. And hope, without hope, nothing is possible. So belief in yourself is one thing. Belief that someone that's treating you bad will still treat you bad the next day. Or they don't know what they're doing. They're not going to wake up and all of a sudden know what they're doing. They don't. So it's all about, I really care about who you put in your environment, in your universe, who you hear, the stimuli around you, and how it affects you and your makeup. If you're getting bad energy, something doesn't feel right, walk away from it. Because you will find a new opportunity, you will find a new way of living, you will find a new way. So I would say, if you take anything away from this, all the scenarios you spoke about, good, bad, and ugly, and in between, have belief in yourself and always have hope that things will get better. Because without hope, they won't.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I couldn't agree with you more. Co, thank you again. It's been
You're
just
welcome.
remarkably so enjoyable to have you in
You
and to
say that
chat.
now, and after the next 40, you go, "Okay, was awful."
Yeah.
I'm shit now for this podcast. This is really good.
This will be that I think that I think there's something that's around the rusticness of something being so new and so authentic
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
it's always unbeatable.
place.
It's like I know that I've like hired brand new sales guys. They don't have any of them, no experience, no at all. You send them out on their first day, come back, they've beat the whole office. It's just because they're so excited, right? And they're just so enthusiastic. So I'm sure that this will remain in my memory bank in history as like I remember that first one and we'll be able to relate about it. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah, really funny.
Oh
Listen,
mate.
thank you so much for the forum. I'm really getting into podcasting, so you're helping me get to my journey and my hope that I can have my own show one day too. So thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you again. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good to
All
speak
right,
to you.
thanks, man. Cheers.
And then this is where I'll cut it out so we could just talk normally, right?
Yeah,
So
cool.
I'll click.
I'm really worried that my nose has been running the whole time.
Don't worry about it. You. Oh, you can't see anything. You can't see
Oh,
anything. Yeah.
It's like dripping down. I can feel it. And I'm like, hey, tissue. I'm like, fuck. Because you can't stop, can you? You could, but
You could. It
yeah,
can
I
always
was
be
like,
edited. It's fine.
yeah, I was like, fuck, my nose is like got no tissue. It's nice doing my head in.
But thank you. I wanted to say outside of the kind of recording bit, it's just thank you again. It was genuinely super enjoyable. I absolutely loved it.
I don't know how it's going to be. Like on the edit.
I think it's just good. A part of me doesn't want to edit that much because I think it adds to a charm of it. You know, adds to the charm.
Yeah. Once you upload it, is it what's the platforms you use?
So I'm gonna basically everywhere. So my intention is to put it onto. So this platform is owned by Spotify.
Is
so it's
like a monthly subscription.
Yeah. So I'll put it straight onto so I'll be able to put it straight onto Spotify, and then SoundCloud have another subscription where once you upload it there, you can then automatic distribute it to all the other ones. So that's one of the other things I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay,
And then from a video perspective, I'll probably put it on YouTube and have like a channel just for the podcast, which is just like recordings of that. So that will be the next thing. So I've got to figure out editing next, which I've already been playing with. So I feel relatively confident because they've got an AI editor, which is so good already that basically you can just go
Riverside.
On Riverside, yeah. And it's not that expensive. So when you're ready to do your podcast, I definitely recommend it.
Do you add music or anything?
When I was listening to the person who invited me at Christmas, they have music when they're giving the introduction. So I'll be like, so I might do that. I'm going to see what feels right. So I probably will. And then they do an exit as well. So they do an intro with music and an exit with music.
Yeah.
So I'll probably follow a similar theme. Yeah.
That's what I've seen the work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how long until it goes live?
I would hope to get it out next week, depending on if I manage to do all the edits and stuff. But I would hope to get it out next week. And then I've just got I'll show you how to, once you're ready to do your own, I'll show you what I'm doing to get people on board and stuff. Cause it's just been so easy. Cause next week I've got 2 more. The week after I've got 3. The week after I've got 2. The week after 2. The week after 1. The week after 1. So we're now at the 3rd of March.
What kind of people are they?
Sorry?
What kind of level of people are they?
All different. You know, I've had some really amazing conversations with people already. Like there's this guy I was speaking to.
Where the execs would feel comfortable because they're still in their position.
Yeah. I think it depends what you're talking about. I think as long as you're kind of celebrating them. Sorry,